It's an interesting flip-flop. Basically, Morgan and Nazem switching spots. What's the mindset behind that?
A little bit like we talked about in prior days, where we know that Naz and Huey play well together. It's trying to find some other combinations that maybe we haven't hit on yet to give us a look at that over these next couple games. We always feel like we can go back with Matty, with Bax and Coles if we have to, because they're unreal together. They've got great chemistry. We know that Huey and Cads go well together. So it's not anything that we're setting in stone. It's just us trying to find some different combinations that maybe we can go to at some point.
When you have a player like Joel Farabee, who might play with Kadri, might play lower in the lineup, how important is it for them to understand that playing on the first line versus the third line is not a demotion?
Yeah. As long as I think our coaching staff does a good job of getting them to understand how they bring value to our team, it's not an issue. But if they don't know where they stand and they see themselves moving around, it's hard on a player. So a lot of that, I think, is a reflection of us, that our communication that we have with the player in a situation like that has to be strong. And when you have that, then there's no problem for the player. So that's a challenge that we have as a group. Joel's done a really good job in this camp so far. Playing in some tougher games on the road, where early on we brought a lighter lineup to Abbotsford, for example. He stepped in that game and got into a fight and did some good things in the power play for us. Now he's getting an opportunity to play up in the lineup against NHL caliber teams with NHL caliber players. So he's done a really good job so far, but I'll go back to just saying it's a lot of communication between player and coaches.
Does that communication start basically from day one of training camp?
Summertime. Yeah.
He's not as a good player that can get guys going. He told us he wants to help get Farabee's confidence up.
Naz did?
Yeah.
Naz, well, I don't even know if Naz, he takes that on. I think as he's matured, it's becoming more important to him, but Naz just drags people with him the way he plays the game. So you need to be ready to be competitive with Naz. You need to be ready to be on your toes, because at times Naz can be a little unpredictable with the puck. And as wingers with him, you have to be ready for all those situations. So I look at it more as not helping to build his confidence, like, hey, I'm going to help you out in this way. It's, no, you're coming with me, I'm going to drag you along type thing for Naz. And that's how he gets the best out of the guys he plays with.
Ryan, with the way some young players have pushed, it looks like the management group and coaching staff are going to have some difficult decisions to make between now and next Wednesday. From an organizational standpoint, how exciting is that?
It is, Wilsey, for sure. I mean, I mentioned before that I'm really high on our young players that we currently have now, and some have earned some really nice contracts here over the last little bit, from Kevin Bald, Matt, Wolfie. Like, there's a lot of really good young players here. And I don't want to disrespect them, but I do feel like the guys that are even coming from behind, when they're ready, when the time is right, are going to be a different level, and they're going to help our team immensely as we continue to get going here. So they've found a way to find some good young players in the draft, and now it's up to our job to continue to develop them.
Ryan, knowing that you're going to see both the goalies that are battling for this spot, like, what'll go into that final decision from your standpoint, assuming that it's not just based on what we see tonight?
Yeah, that's a hard one, because they're very close in stature. They're close in everything, the two of them. One guy may be a little bit more composed in the net than the other at times. The other guy's maybe a little bit more athletic. I mean, you want them to stop the puck, of course. That's the number one thing we look for. But when we try to make decisions on goaltenders, like, we do a lot of talking with Jordan and Jason and Scapper. Like, they're the guys that really understand the position. And then for coaches, when you're trying to decide on goaltenders, it's more about feel around the room and how the player fits in, and what we think they'd be like as a partner to Dustin. So there's tough decisions for sure coming up.
With Mad Bay, we know about the shot, and obviously there's been some offense there recently. But what else about his game have you guys liked in terms of that's allowed him to continue this opportunity? For me, it's more about, even though he's 19 years old, like, the lower frame on him, he's thick. Like, so he's big and strong and powerful. So if he's in a situation against a bigger defenseman, he's at this age going to be able to hold them off, and he's going to be able to make plays. So he's got the ability to protect pucks. And I think he can play a big man's game even as a younger player. So the offense is there. He thinks and sees the game really well. But I do like the fact that he's a strong kid for 19 years old.
Start to the
Another
season
young
is-
guy, Paresh, has got a number of preseason games under his belt now. Seems like he's settling in, kind of finding his game. What do you want to see from him in the next 2 games that shows you that he's ready?
Yeah, I think now because we are seeing different teams, like we're getting the best forwards that Vancouver has now coming here tonight. Maybe situational awareness is the way I could put it for him. So understanding who you're on the ice with, when to make a decision to try something that's a little bit higher risk that we'd probably categorize. What's the score? What's the time on the clock? Those are all things that as a young guy you have to start to understand and really recognize. And those would be a few of the things that we'll look for out of him in the last couple exhibition games, and then also how you handle like a Brock Besser and a Pettersson and players like that.
The start of the season is so important. What do you want to see from your team in these final 2 preseason games that would let you know they're ready to go for next Wednesday?
Pace is always the big one for me. Like there's parts of the Seattle game where we start going the wrong direction in the neutral zone and we slow down, and that's especially true when you're playing against teams that stay up on you and try to give you no room through the neutral zone. So if you're stubborn and you allow the game to stay in front of a defense, then I think we have a ways to go. If we're consistent with making them turn and go back for pucks, whether that's with control possession or if it's putting it in and going and get it, then I know we're on the right track. So pace is the biggest thing for me.
Brian, with Joel Hanley, like he finished his last season playing the most sort of successful hockey of his career, certainly the biggest role. Curious, how have you seen his approach to this camp as a guy who's kind of determined to pick up where he ended last season?
I would answer that one very much the same as Dustin Wolf, where he does not change. You know, we were skating him for 2 months in a row at the beginning of last year, and he was the same every day at the rink. He started to play a ton. He was the same. So he's very much, I think, a mentally tough guy. Understands how he has to play and what's required of him in order for him to stay in the league and be an effective player, and he just comes to the rink every day and goes about his business.